Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Pitch Deck Review live session for March this year. In these sessions, our Pitch Guide members submit a pitch deck for me to review, and I basically click through it and I see what I see and I say what I say. This week we have two pitch decks that we're going to cover. And whoop, the first one is Sage Group. Sage Group is building an interesting company, which is trying to do something extremely ambitious, which is cool. I love some good ambition. Um, but there's also some interesting challenges with this deck around, we'll get to that. If you're dialing in live, feel free to ask questions in the chat. And if not, welcome to the YouTubes. All right. On that note, let's dive straight into the Sage Group deck. So, Sage Group, an ecosystem for Amazon sellers. Okay, so immediately here, there's a couple of things that I am curious about. An ecosystem for Amazon sellers, that does make sense to me. I mean, Amazon does have an awful lot of people on their platform, and there's a huge amount of uh, things that happen when you try and sell on Amazon. However, seeing the joint venture on a pitch deck um, is a little spooky to me because now I'm curious what that joint venture is. And immediately I have a red flag going off around um, how complex is this joint venture? Is the cap table clean? Like there's a bunch of stuff that immediately shows up for me in terms of what should I be looking out for as a potential investor? So, yes, it is a it is a joint venture, and you should absolutely tell people that. But sticking it front and center, maybe not, you know? Okay, let's take a look. We have 6,000 active sellers. We process GMV is gross market value. So that's the value of the products that goes through the site or through the platform. And we have 32,000 MRR. Now, 32,000 MRR is a pretty young company, but it shows that they've found a way of making money, which is super important. For 6,000 active sellers, that's pretty good. And if I do a little bit of back of the napkin math, or that means that every seller is doing about $40,000 worth of value through this platform every month, which that's a pretty decent sum. That's good. That's exciting. And they have 32,000 MRR over 6,000 customers. Now that one is slightly less impressive, right? Because that means that on active, each active seller is contributing $5.3 on average. That makes me think that there's probably one of two things going on. One, they have a whole bunch of pricing plans that are low, or they have a freemium model where people can do stuff for free. Attracting 6,000 sellers is objectively impressive. So that's really good. But what I would have loved to see is a higher kind of average spend per user. Anyway, so those are the things that immediately pop up. These are good numbers for an early stage venture. And I imagine if they're raising around $1 to $3 million, that should be possible here if they have a clear plan. If this company is trying to raise, say, 10 or $20 million, I'd be like, you're not really that kind of growth stage company, right? Okay. So the mission, build radically simple tools for Amazon sellers. Great. I love the clarity of that. Problems in operating an Amazon store. So here the company goes straight into talking about the problem that they're solving. Okay. So now it's clear that this company isn't for um, uh, if you're a manufacturer selling on Amazon through 3PL, that is one way of doing Amazon. So this is more for people who do arbitrage. So you buy something cheap, you find an opportunity for something that's on Amazon, and you sell it at a profit. So then against that backdrop, product research makes sense. Listings, hijackers join listings, listers giving them reviews. Okay, yeah, customer support, sellers miss questions. Okay, I've never experienced that as a problem, but sure. Scaling, Amazon burns money. Okay, inventory, control stock out, overstock, time to reorder, supplies, find high quality suppliers. Okay, so this is a pretty decent platform with a lot of features. The interesting thing is, though, in my experience, Amazon already does a bunch of these things. And so I'm curious what the actual upshot is of this customer or of this product offering these services sometimes are in conflict with Amazon. Anyway, let's keep going. I believe that these are indeed problems in in operating an Amazon store. So, this is probably a decent problem slide. Barriers to entry, audits, access API. So here it's talking a little bit deep into the weeds. I don't know what MWS credentials are, or why it takes 52 days. From the context of what I know about Amazon, this barriers to entry slide doesn't really make sense so much. Now, I'm curious if they are trying to position this as a part of the moat, that the Amazon platform is hard to use, that their product is easy, and that becomes part of the reason why this company should exist. And if so, this is not actually terrible storytelling, but I think it's a little ham fisted. Our products allow sellers to control and protect business and increase their sales. Okay, so now here there's a whole bunch of different domains. There's Seller Sonar, Seller Sage Sellers, Sage Mailer, Seller.fm. This doesn't strike me as a particularly focused business. And so now I'm like, okay, how much are these guys raising? I'm not sure. Like, it feels like if you're running four different brands, I'm not clear on why that needs to be four different sites and why there's so many products. Where my mind goes as I'm looking at this as a potential investor is like this, there seems to be a lack of focus. There's some warning flags. So the joint venture thing in the beginning, the bunch of products, the product space, the problem space that I don't really understand. So yeah, I'm a little bit down on this startup for now. Um, and unless I was specifically doing business in this space, if I'm like a general AI, early stage investor, this is not something that I would necessarily be that curious about. Okay, working business model. Okay, they did. Wait, now I'm confused. They said they did $300,000 worth of revenue in 2020 and $90,000 worth of revenue in 2021. Well, that's great and all, but what happened in 2022 and 2023 and so far in 2024? I am confused why we don't have recent numbers on this deck. The only assumption I have is that this is an old deck that somebody wanted reviewed, and that makes sense. But that means, when this deck is happening, we're at the early stages of the pandemic and online selling exploded, right? And if we look at this chart over here, so at the bottom it says January through May 21, but then at the top of the slide here, it says 2020 and 2021. Now, if they're writing this in May 2021, which would make sense because, you know, um, these are the numbers for Q1 21, like, why do we not have the rest of the year? So they're really showing January 2020 through May 2020, and then January through May 2021, which makes sense if you want to compare year to year. But we have some knowledge here, which is that e-commerce exploded during the pandemic. And so from about March, April onwards, e-commerce went nuts because nobody could go to the shops for a while. Every e-commerce slide I've ever seen had a massive spike here, and that seems to be missing from this. And then the numbers for 2021, sure, 20% growth year on year is good if you're a lifestyle business, but if you're a tech startup, that is not great growth. Like, a lot of the companies I'm working with have 15% growth week on week. 20% month on month would be, okay, fine. Now we're talking. 20% growth year on year. This is not a rapidly growing startup. And so these numbers that I'm looking at here, small sellers are churning in less than a year. It says 283 days. Lifetime value for small sellers is $170. That's not bad for a lifetime value, especially if you have a combined customer acquisition cost of $20. That means that for every $20 you spend, you're making $170 on average. That's great. They also say that they have the lifetime for other sellers is 328 days, which is still less than a year. And so now I'm curious lifetime value, LTV, is something I'm used to. LT, that's not a common metric. I'm presuming that's lifetime. But in that case, on this slide, they're really saying, hey, our growth isn't that impressive. And our customers are churning like in 3 quarters or in less than a year. And the churn rate is 27%. Now, 20% 7% churn rate. Now, as an investor, I'm really curious. Have you done exit interviews? Why are these people churning? Did they accidentally sign up basically and found that it was a wrong product? Is your product problem? Do you not offer value? Like if this product really solves the problems that they describe early on that seem like serious problems, then the seller should never churn, right? Unless these are sellers who set up a shop, try it out a little bit, realize that running an Amazon store is hard, and then go off to trade crypto or whatever. The top of this slide says working business model, but the numbers say something else, that the founders may not truly understand what's happening within their business. Like nobody reports just January through May, especially in e-commerce. Like the November and December are your biggest months. And that's somehow omitted from this uh, chart altogether. So I don't understand. Um, and really, what that makes me think is that the founders have missed something, or I'm missing something. That's entirely possible too. But that there's something happening here that isn't as expected, and the unexpected means risk, and risk means scary. Okay, let's keep going. Impressive product market fits. Not sure if currency distribution. I don't know if that shows product market fit. To be honest, like yes, you've reached a bunch of audiences, but I'm not sure. So you doubled your GMV. That's great. But that's only important if your revenue is a percentage of GMV. So we haven't really talked about the business model here yet. Now, if this company says, hey, if you sell $1 million worth of goods, we'll take 10% of that, then the GMV is something worth tracking because it's directly related to your actual revenue. Now, if your revenue is a subscription model, then the GMV is kind of irrelevant. Why now? 1 million sellers join Amazon every day. What this slide is really saying is that there's an enormous amount of opportunity for growth, and these new sellers need help. Great. That's a good proxy for how successful this company could become. Market with millions of potential SMB customers. Yeah, I mean, that's completely fine. Competition and our core differentiation. I think this is good enough for a competition slide, right? It shows that there are competitors. And what I would do then, actually, let me show you what I would do then. Pitch is my go-to tool for doing company research. I would like to show you what an investor would do at this point. Let's see what we know about Celix. So it's a company that has raised $10 million to date. They have 105 employees. That's a pretty decent sized company for somebody who's only raised 10 million, which makes me think that they're throwing off a huge amount of revenue. Um, that's going to be a competitor to keep an eye on. Jungle Scout. Okay, they have raised 110 million in one round from Summit Partners. Okay, so this is very limited data, actually. At this point, I would doubt PitchBook's data. $110 million round that is the only one listed with only one investor. That means that there's something wrong with the data. So I'm going to ignore that one altogether. And Helium 10. Now, the reason why I look up these companies is to get they have 100 employees. Oh, and they were acquired by Assembly. Interesting. Okay, so now I have a bunch of additional information about this market. The most important thing being is that there are some formidable competitors here that have raised a large amount of money. So I would take a close look at Celix. I'll take a closer look at the other competitors and figure out whether these things, the ease to use, automated, faster with an API, exclusive software, strategic ecosystem, etc., whether those are enough to overcome the amount of traction that your competitors already have. Important thing to keep an eye on because, sometimes even if you have a really, really good idea for a company, that doesn't necessarily mean that the company itself can make it. Okay, so why invest in Sage Group? This type of slide is always a little bit. It strikes me as really defensive. And so here I'm curious what the logos across the top are. And I think those are actually the competitor logos. It's very strange to put competitor logos on a slide that is trying to convince people to invest in you. Because I see Jungle Scout here and Celix and SellerApp. And now I'm curious why these other competitors weren't on the competition slide. Um, you have a strategic investor, sure, that's cool. I want to learn more about them. Amazon, I don't really know what that means. And we have like serious-minded friends like Google, Shopify, waiting for us to become big enough. I mean, sure. I think this needs a lot of voiceover to to make sense for why this slide should convince me to invest, to be honest. Okay, business model, stage one, SaaS. We have a working business model that generates revenue. They have a freemium plan. Okay, so that's what we saw earlier in the numbers. Depending on the features, great. Our channels are organic search and PPC, great. What we're going to do, tune SaaS business model. Okay, I still don't know how much they charge. I think there's some pricing plans over on the right there, but I can't really read them. So, Sage Group. Sage Group. Is it these guys? No. Okay, so that's a problem, right? If I Google this company's name, I can't find them. Sage US, Sage Group, here, Sage Group. This seems to be a fashion brand. Okay, so problem, right? If I am taking this time to try and find your company, to find this pricing page so I can actually read it, and in 3 clicks I can't find your company, then that probably means that that you need a different company name. Like Sage is a very big accounting software. It's a very common name. SageSeller.com. Okay, here we are. Where's the pricing page? Amazon broker. Okay, guys, this page is not like, why can't I just find the pricing? Media kit. Why is there a media kit? Okay, so I'm confused by this website. I'm confused by I don't know. As an investor, realistically, I would have just given up here. Because what is true for me is that throughout here, I have some doubts about the company, how it's building, how slowly it's growing. They've thrown up a slide here that says that they have a business model, which is a SaaS business model, which is great, but it doesn't show the pricing. The pricing is on the right of the slide here, but the letters are too small for me to read. And when I try to go look for the pricing page, I can't easily find it. That's not a great look. Okay, stage 2, future vision. Okay, so this is actually an elegant storytelling thing. It's like, what are we doing now? What are we doing next? 1,000 sellers pay between $100 to $200. Okay, but it still doesn't explain what the actual business model is. So, like we were talking about GMV earlier, and I mentioned that GMV is only important if you take a percentage cut. Well, it doesn't seem like that's part of the business model. That's SaaS. And so what the company is doing here is it's reporting numbers to me that look impressive, go you, but they're not actually driving forces behind success of the business. That to me feels like you're trying to trick me. And again, my trust is eroding here in this company. Okay, product roadmap. Yeah, I don't really care yet. Strategic roadmap, operations. Yeah, go to market. Okay, so these organic SEO, PPC, business development, performance, others, these are all just, this is a brainstorm, right? I don't know how much blog content you're trying to put out and how effective it is to convert customers. This is not a good go-to-market slide. I want to know, especially when you have PPC on here, it's great that you have cost per click advertising, but I want to know how much the per channel customer acquisition cost is here. If your PPC is $3, then I'm like, okay, cool. You can chuck a lot of money at advertising and you can make a lot of money. If the cost here is astronomical, then the whole channel doesn't make sense. So this is a brainstorm. This does not help me whether or not I want to invest. But the fact that there's no numbers here makes me suspicious that the numbers aren't good. I'm already dreading diligence for this company, you guys. Visionary owners. Okay. Ilya, Alexei, and Alexander. Yeah. Okay. This is not a great team slide. And the reason is that I still don't know how this trio is the perfect set of people to build this company. Like, I don't care that you're 29, 32, and 32. Like, that's not relevant to me. What is relevant is how your experience so far set you up to be the absolutely perfect people to run this company. Like, what's the special sauce? What is it about you that is in fact part of the moat for this company? Um, 7 years with Amazon, I think is impressive, but I want to know what they did at Amazon. Like, were they part of the procurement? Were they part of tech? Were they part of, like, Amazon is an enormous company with God knows how many employees. And so without being more specific about what they specifically did at Amazon, yeah, I'm not immediately convinced that, oh yeah, these are the guys that I need to back with my money. And on the far right here, fixed group of companies, international holding, focuses on fintechs and e-commerce, blah, blah, blah. Like, now I'm very scared that this holding company, which maybe is an accelerator, maybe is a investor, maybe I don't know what they are, has a very significant chunk of the cap table of this company, which in some instances can make it very hard to raise money. I'm looking at this and I don't think I understand this slide. So I think the numbers on the left are percentages, and then they've broken down which of their plans generate the money by volume, presumably by percentage. This is not a good slide, guys. I don't understand what's going on here. But I think what they're saying is that the plans doing less than $20 are doing about 20% of the revenue. The plans that are doing more than $50 are doing 20% of the revenue. But then I don't know whether the ones doing more than $20 are also included in more than 50, because no, because this total number adds up to 100. Again, this is not a good chart. Like, I get confused about, like, why is this here? What is this trying to tell me? I don't understand. And then you have what categories generate expenses: development, sales, and others. Okay, so I'm seeing you spend 80% of your money on development. That makes sense, but the top of this slide says cash flow. This is not a cash flow slide. Cash flow is how much money is going in and out. This is a percentage broken down. This is a chart broken down by percentages. There's so many non-standard slides in this deck and non-standard ways of telling the story that as an investor, I'm already like, oh God, what are these board meetings going to be like? Right? None of this is standardized. The numbers that are being presented don't inherently make sense to me, which means that if I choose to invest and I'm going to be on the board, I'm going to have to seriously talk to these founders about, like, hey, can you just report your numbers in the standard way so everybody around the table can understand it, so we can compare apples to apples? And this would have to be an extraordinary opportunity for me to want to have to teach the founders how to be founders, which I mean, I'm willing to do, right, for the right investment. But the story that's being told so far makes me think that this is going to be hard. Financials. Okay. So these are the two investors, Ilya and Fix. Wasn't Ilya one of the co-founders? Okay. So one of the co-founders put in 35,000. Fix Group put in 220,000. Cellernovas? I don't know what Cellernova is. Oh, that's the other part of the joint venture. Okay, so again, more red flags. And the reason this is a red flag is that I see a lot of complication on here. There's two companies, Sage Seller and Cellernova. There's the the founder of Sage Group, I think, is one of the investors in Sage Seller, but not in Cellernova. I'm still not entirely sure what the difference is between Sage Seller and Cellernova. So this company is raising $2.5 million. This is a mid-range seed round to launch all software products. That is not a good goal, because I don't know. You've given me a whole list of potential products you're working on. As an investor, I want to see focus. I want to see, okay, how is this one thing you're working on going to be incredibly successful? Launch all software products is not helpful for me to make an investment decision, because I don't know what the software products are. Tune business model. That's what every company does from day zero until well after IPO. So tune business model basically just means run business. Investment distribution. Okay, so I don't like it when people use percentages. And I have a whole different video about this. I'll link to it below. the way this chart is designed is that I can see investments, M&A, 21. Wait, so is it planning to do mergers and acquisitions with only a $2.5 million investment? I don't understand what's happening here. And then it says Series A 2022, but we're currently in 2024. So I'm now assuming that they raised that Series A. And underneath Series A, it says what we will do is get to 300,000 MRR. If you've just raised a Series A, 300,000 MRR is not a good number. Oh, prepare for Series A. Okay, so I'm confused by this slide. Again, terrible slide. This is not a good, like visually, this is very hard to read, and the numbers internally don't make sense. These are not good SMART goals. And using percentages to explain what you're going to spend the money on. I used this analogy a while ago, which is like, imagine you had a general contractor. You say, hey, here's $300,000, build me a house. And they say, okay, sure, we're going to spend 10% on an architect, 30% on framing, 30% on paint, and 20% on something else. I'd be like, yeah, cool. At the end, is there going to be a house? And you say, no, 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 we're going to spend 10% on plumbing, 20% on whatever, right? It's not helpful to know the percentages. I want to know what you're going to accomplish with that money. Now, a little bit of that is covered on the right here. We'll acquire 30,000 active sellers. Sure. Why? By when though? And we're going to get to 300,000 MRR. That is fine. Although that means that your earnings per customer has to go up significantly, because 30,000 active sellers and 300,000 MRR means $10,000 per customer. That is not the number you currently have. And so now I'm curious about how you're going to so drastically increase the amount of funds you're going to get in per customer without any major changes within the business. We haven't really talked about what you're changing. So that's a little confusing and worrying to me. Okay. Sage Run is coming. Okay, great. And that was the end of the slide. That was not a good pitch deck. At the end of this, I still don't really understand what the company does, who it does it for, how it acquires its customers. I know that it's raising $2.5 million, but I don't have clarity on what it's trying to do when it raises that money. And so I am just like, I'm actually not even going to take a meeting with this company at this point. It's a mess. I don't really see an enormous opportunity there. The growth is good, but very slow. And yeah, I probably wouldn't take this meeting. Okay, next one. AI Stats is another pitch guide subscriber, and they submitted their pitch deck. And if you're a pitch deck subscriber, then you can do that too. Mobile app that empowers football fans with advanced stats. Now, I'm based in the US, so I'm assuming this means American football. But glancing over on the right, it says Nottingham Forest and Arsenal, which I know to be soccer teams. If you're trying to raise from US investors, I'm sorry, this sucks. As you can tell from my accent, I spent a bunch of time in the UK, but football means American football and soccer means soccer. Even just putting a soccer ball somewhere would explain that. People aren't complete idiots, but if I am very passionately into American football, which many people are here, I don't know why, but whatever, many people are, then that makes me excited for a brief moment until I realize you're talking about a different football. Like, don't on the very first slide, you've just set us up for a possibility of disappointment. Let's not do that. Be clear. Okay, it's a good looking app. I see that they're live in the Play and App Store. So I'm assuming that already from this slide, I'm assuming that this is a company in market. My assumptions here is this is a company that's already making revenue. They have 2 apps out. The app looks slick. I'm going to guess that they're going to raise between $3 and $5 million to grow further and to find market share. Those are the guesses based just on this slide. Okay, conventional football stats. I got to be honest with you. Football stats are hella boring to me no matter what. I don't care about the customer experience. So I am clearly not the consumer here, right? Fans need innovations. Do they? Stats might reflect reality. There's no solution on the market that delivers the same levels of experience as live streams do. I might buy this, but I'm not convinced that this is a problem worth solving. I know that American sports fans are usually into stats, like people have memorized all sorts of things about baseball and football and that kind of stuff. And again, I'm not a sports fan, but I don't know if the same thing is true for soccer. 6 years of modeling, 2 years of experience. $90,000 invested in R&D. Okay, that's pretty cool. So basically, you are showing more accurate than bookies odds, which means, oh, okay, so maybe this is a tool for people to do sports betting. If that's the case, then I would have been more express. Did it say that on the cover slide? No. Like, change the perception of the game of football. I don't think that's what you're doing here. If it turns out that this is a tool for people doing sports betting, you're not talking about the perception. You're talking about tipping the odds in your favor. And that might actually be a business that's worth doing. Okay, so 15 metrics, 7 user jobs. I don't know what a user job is, but okay. Advanced football stats, leagues, metrics, notifications. Okay, it's a cool app. Metrics help fan evaluate team powers in every match. Okay. Yeah, so this is really for people who are really, really into the sport. And again, the reason why I imagine somebody would pay for this is sports betting. This slide deck is very product heavy, right? We have a whole bunch of slides here showing various aspects of the product. And that's great, but that assumes that I am already on board enough that whether or not the product is good is going to change whether or not I invest. I don't think that's the case. What I want to know here is a business model. Who are you targeting? How much money are you charging them? Like, the product is actually a lot less important to me as an investor than you would think. What I really want to know is how many people are using it and what are they using it for? Okay, business model, $15 monthly subscription, quarterly 30, yearly 70. Okay. That's a pretty good pricing model. And now I'm very curious who is excited enough about football stats to want to pay $15 a month. $15 a month is a lot of money for, like, this has to add extraordinary value. And you still haven't really said who cares enough about this to do this. Started as an R&D product and developed into a startup. Okay, so this is a timeline-based story of the founders, I think. Worked on a math model to predict football audiences, switched focus to development and automated algorithm, launched AI stats. Okay, great. Okay, so this is an unusual way to tell the story of how the product folks or the founders met each other. But it's interesting, right? It shows that they have an ongoing um, uh, startup and sports experience. I think that's really cool. This is an elegant way of telling the story of this story of the team. This is revenue per month. This is MRR. Okay, I don't. Okay, yes, this is MRR, but then the other numbers are different. Okay, I cannot figure out what these numbers mean and why they're dropping and why they're going up. This is not a great chart. There's a lot of things happening here, and I can't intuitively figure out what's going on. So what I'm reading, I think, is the monthly money coming in. That's probably that chart that goes up and up and up. But then you also have milestones on here: initial launch, match uniqueness feature, hard work on delivering new metric ecosystem, start of growth stage before a raise. Like, hard work, I don't care that you work hard. Of course you work hard. You're a startup founder. Don't put that on the slide. Um, Milestones should be measurable, meaningful, impactful on the business things, like start of growth stage. Like, I care that you grow. I don't care that this is your growth stage. The new metric ecosystem, sure, I care about that. But as you're doing that, it seems like your figures are plummeting here. I don't know what happened between October and November that it spiked. Maybe that's football season. I don't know. I don't know why it goes down again. And I don't know how it suddenly skyrocketed to 20. And then it says $10,000 MRR by April 2024. But the the revenue you're actually generating is 20,000. Anyway, I don't know how to read this chart. This is confusing to me. And I find that frustrating. It makes me feel dumb. And making people feel dumb is never a good way to ingratiate yourself. Our unit economics remain positive and promising, demonstrating product market fit. Gross income and ad spend ratio. Yeah, okay. That's your income to ad spend. Yeah. 30-day retention for paid customers, 35%. Oh, goodness. That's very low. That's very low. That means that 65% of your customers don't stay for more than 30 days. Now I would immediately be curious. Why is that? What is happening with these customers? Why are they signing up in the first place? Why are they churning? Um, do they just sign up for one match or for one season or for one tournament or whatever? I wish these numbers were intuitive and more easy to understand. Same feedback as for the previous pitch deck review. Um, I need to understand that these are the numbers that you are working on. Now, if on this slide what you're saying is our 30-day retention is 35%, and we're going to work to increase that or improve that, then you have a story, right? Show me the plan. Show me how you're going to make that work. Okay, sports entertainment market is emerging in a post-COVID area. Okay, so this is just their tam sam sum. Um, 500 million users, sports app market. I would like to have seen some examples of other sports app because I'm not entirely sure what to imagine there. Sports fan that will make an in-app purchase. Sure. Yeah, I believe that this is a large enough market. I'm not going to argue with you about that. Aims to provide businesses with smart metrics with betting So, okay, finally, slide, God knows how many. We're now saying this is for betting companies, media and broadcasters, and teams and federations. But again, this is for the betting companies, not for the people doing the betting. Like all of these customers, the betting companies, the media and broadcasters, and teams and federations are probably not going to use your B2C business model of $15 a month, right? For the betting companies, you're going to negotiate separate deals. For the media and broadcasters, you're going to negotiate separate deals. And the same for teams and federations. Everything you've said so far is a B2C business. And now suddenly you're talking about a B2B business with a commercial API. And you haven't said anything about the pricing for that. That is worrying to me because really what you're describing here is a business that's about to do a pivot, but you've kind of just not said anything about it, just kind of dropped it on me. So you're not raising money for the business you had, you're raising business money for a new business model. That there's a lot of stuff happening there. You'd like on this slide, you get a lot of questions from me and from most investors about, hey, what is your business? Because everything you've just said does not map to this. AI Stats found a perfect market niche with its UVP, mid-core engaging stats for both users and businesses. AI Stats found a perfect market niche with its UVP. UVP? I don't know what UVP is. UVP. Unique value proposition? That's usually just called a VP. I don't know what UVP is. Okay. Live score apps for all leagues. Yeah. Okay, great. This is your competition slide. And again, if we had more time, I would go in and look at Stats Perform, Rhythm, Flash Score, SofaScore, and Sport Radar on PitchBook. Why now? Okay, 7% want more stats insights. Bundesliga broadcasted by Amazon Prime. Sure. Okay. We are raising $600,000. Okay, so $600,000 is not a huge funding round. This is a company that has an app already in market, and they're doing 20,000 MRR, if that chart is right, if I get my head about that right. I would at this point be worried why they're raising so little. Most of the companies I work with that have roughly this shape would be raising about between 2 and 3 million. So the ask is clear, 600,000, great. They actually have a very clear goal too, which is $365,000 MRR by October 2024. That is beefy. That is beefy growth from 20,000 to 365,000. And so now I'm very curious, how are you going to get there? And the answer is down here, right? They're spending $100,000 on marketing. Now, this is a little confusing because it's helps if I show you the slide. It's a little bit confusing because at this point, they're under Q3, it says that they're spending $100,000 on marketing. I don't know if that means they're going to spend $100,000 on marketing in all of Q3, or if they spend $100,000 per month in Q3. So it's worth, like if you use quarterly numbers, it's worth specifying. These are not really SMART goals. I don't know what to do with those numbers. The only numbers here that are helpful to me is how much you're spending in marketing and what is your MRR. If you can deliver on that, absolutely awesome. What next? Oh, the last one is just a thank you with the pictures of the founders and their contact details. This deck is pretty good? Question mark. I think the big red flags for me here is that they're raising too little. At the stage of company, I would expect a $2 to $3 million round. I want to dig into the financials more, like how much money are you spending, where is it going, um, what are your smart goals, how do you acquire customers, who are your target customers, and the other really big red flag to me is like, is this a B2C company or is this a B2B company? Like, if you're going to do all the B2B stuff, you need a B2B sales team. That is a lot to spin up, and that API is going to need a lot of technical support. So you basically need a whole team doing that. And while you do that, the consumer product doesn't get any love, especially not if you're only raising 600,000. So far, the story of the company is one of a consumer company, but there's a pivot in the works here. And so I would need to understand all of the pieces around what's happening here, what does the company look like, and where is all this growth going to come from? Especially because if we look back here in the first part of this slide, we're saying 12,000 marketing spends gets us $20,000 worth of MRR. Great. Then after that, 100,000 gets us 20,000 MRR, right? So in the early stages here, we're saying that you're spending 12 to 20. That's more than double. Then in the second stage here, we're spending 100 to get 120. That's a lot less. The blended CAC is much higher here. It's almost 1 to 1. So you're basically saying we're spending $1 to make $1.2. Then in Q4 here, we're saying we're spending 200,000 to make 480,000. Now we're spending $1 to make $2.40. Those numbers are dramatically different. And I would want to dig in pretty deeply to figure out why you can spend $1 to make $2 early on, then you spend $1 to make $1 in Q3, and then just 1 quarter later, your efficacy of dollar spent to MRR jumps by 1.2. That's like, it is very rare that businesses are able to do this. This doesn't strike me as realistic. And so as an investor, what I would want to do is to really dig into these numbers and have a chat about how did you get to them? Are they realistic? And all that fun stuff. Okay. Thank you. I'm happy to take the questions. Before I do that, remember that we also have an AI-powered pitch deck review service where you just dump your pitch deck into an AI and it tells you all the things that are good and bad about it. And we have a brand new pitch guide website that shows a lot of the services we offer. We have the AI pitch deck reviews that I talked about. We have a couple of really cool courses. We have a course called Ready to Raise in 14 Days, which takes you step by step through the entire fundraising process. We have a super in-depth knowledge base called the Pitch Guide Knowledge Base that has all the up-to-the-minute information you need about funding. And in addition, I offer a bunch of pitch coaching and pitch deck review services. So if you need one-to-one coaching, that is also available. All right, folks, thank you so much and have a beautiful day. Cheers.